All right. Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. Want to thank you all for joining us here. Lions Talk Live. You know it. It's just before 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. About an hour or so ago, we all discovered Lions got a new offensive coordinator. Hutch Jr., now that you've had a little bit of time to dive in and learn about this new OC, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, look, obviously, I think everyone, right, as Lions fans, you look at it, you're like, who the hell is this guy? You're like, Mike McDaniel. This is kind of we wanted Mike McDaniel. I think everyone, that's kind of who we were rooting for. But like, go back. I mean, I've done some digging and I've been looking. Obviously, it's not the most home run hire. Reports are coming out. This was somebody that's close to Ben Johnson. Like he's young. He's 38. So this is kind of more that, that hire of, can Dan Campbell kind of find the diamond in the rough? But basically go back and look at this guy with who he had in Cardinals at Arizona. And some of his numbers from 2024 to 2025 were actually staggering. The guy actually like runs the ball. And then if anyone knows Dan Campbell's biggest thing this year, his biggest complaint or what he was saying was our offense gels because we run the ball. We didn't do it enough this year. And what does Dan Campbell preach that he wanted to do last year was get Montgomery the ball a little bit more. I'm wondering maybe if this was a hire to say, look, hey, maybe we can keep Monty here one more year, see how he does in this offense, and then we go off him next year.
Well, let's talk about Dave Montgomery because I think all Lions fans were shocked this year, whether it was MC Daisy or John Morton calling the plays. Montgomery, who had kind of really been 50-50 with Gibbs for a few seasons, dropped back to maybe only getting 15 to 20% of the snaps. In your opinion, what do you think Montgomery could do to help revitalize this Detroit Lions rushing attack?
I just think we get back to what we were doing before. I know Gibbs is the premier, explosive back, but, this offense gelled when each of these guys were getting 15, 20 carries apiece. If you go look at Arizona and their running back room, they like to run a two-back set. They like to run with two running backs. And I'm not here to say that Arizona doesn't have the pieces that we have because they're not as good as we are. We have a way better core than what Arizona has. Let's be real. Like McBride is probably the only one that you can sit here and say that is on the level of someone on our offense. Outside of that, like Goff is better than Jacoby Brissett and Kyler Murray. J-Mo is better than every wide receiver on that roster. St. Brown, right. No one on Arizona holds a candle to these guys. So you're getting a coordinator that's coming from Arizona that was averaging 325 yards a game with Jacoby Brissett to come over here with Goff, who thrives in play action. He was heavy in play action. He runs a lot of tight end sets. He runs a lot of, dual running back. He loves running the ball. So, keeping Montgomery, I think, is kind of a big piece for this guy. And I'm wondering if that was kind of the talk of the whole Dan Campbell, Pete Zieg or whatever his name is. It's so hard to pronounce, but I'm wondering if that was a big piece.
Well, I know I didn't know a ton about him prior to the hire, but to your point, what I did know about him is a lot of two tight end, two running back formations, something that Dan Campbell really seems to prefer. So from that standpoint, I got it. Now, since we've gone off air with the breaking news about Drew Pretz, whatever his name is, Prezzing, hire, I did spend a little bit more time looking at it and think you hit a lot of big nails on the head there. Lions have a lot more offensive weapons than the Arizona Cardinals. I think we all get that. Talk about the two-back system that this guy, Drew Pretzing, does seem to appear to favor.
Yeah. I think you hit it dead on. He loves his two-back sets. Their offense wasn't great this year, but look who they had on offense. They had Jacoby Brissett. They had DeMarcio, and they had what is that other running back they had? I forget his name. Anyways, yeah, and then like wide receivers outside of Trey McBride, you can't. I can't name any of their wide receivers. Like, I have no idea who they were. And Jacoby Brissett comes in and he has a career year, and he's probably going to get traded because of it. He's going to be a good backup somewhere. So I think with coming over and you give Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery the amount of touches that they had when Ben was here, I think that's going to take a load off this offense, off Goff's shoulders at least. Say, hey, look, we're going to get back to the smash mouth football we were playing because that's where we thrived. I felt like this year there was a lot of times where I looked in the backfield and I'm like, why is Gibbs on there on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1? Usually that's David Montgomery territory where, 1st or 2nd and goal, and we're trying to pass the ball, force the ball instead of just, putting Demo in there like he's done for the last 2 years, just pound it in. And I know Dan Campbell has expressed it many times that he wants to get back to the running type of football that, Detroit Lions were years ago under Ben Johnson.
So let's break this down. MCDC, why do you think maybe he didn't make a move for some of the more noted, proven offensive coordinators? We all know Mike McDaniel. His name popped out. A lot of people were wanting him. Why do you think ultimately MCDC went in a different direction?
I don't think he wanted another one-and-done coach. I mean, who's to say that Mike McDaniel, it doesn't come in, has a great year, and he leaves us for head coach? And now, out of all the people that were out there this year, they aren't going to be there next year. No, there's not going to be 10 new teams getting new coaches next year, guys. It's just not going to happen. This year was an anomaly. It's crazy how many coaches have got fired. These guys are going to get hired. If Tampa Bay hires Mike McDaniels, rumors are Todd Bowles might retire shortly here. So that's a safe bet. Mike McDaniel isn't going to come in here, sit on OC, and we're going to fire Dan Campbell. It's just not going to happen. Dan Campbell, I don't see getting fired for, unless something drastic absolutely changes. But Mike McDaniel, I think, is probably either going to end up as a head coach or he's going to be an OC somewhere where he knows that he can get the head coaching job when that coach is gone. And I just, like I said, I think he wanted a younger guy that, he can kind of control. And he said he's doing all the duties to the OC. I think that was the big thing for me. I noticed with Dan Campbell, I felt like he got away from the game a little bit when he was calling plays. So I think Dan was like, look, you control the offense. I'm going to be the head coach.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to guess, but I don't know, that when Dan Campbell looks at, the hire, probably like you said, he doesn't have to worry about replacing him in 12 months or less. He's probably thinking that this is a guy that he probably has for 2 or 3 years. If he really knocks the cover off the ball, maybe 2 seasons. One of the other aspects we're having to deal with is Kelvin Shepard. We all get it. He's interviewing with the Dolphins. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you think Kelvin Shepard gets hired?
Nah, that one's hard, man, because, obviously we've had rumors, right? We've had rumors all year that he possibly would be interested in the LSU job. I think it was just one of those things where, I think Miami really likes him. That you could see it, kind of his leadership and what he's done. Could it happen? Sure. Miami might take a swing and say, hey, look, Kelvin's the guy we want. He killed the interview. I've been more shocked, and then now we got to go hire another DC. But I think it was just one of those things, the whole Rooney Rule. I think people have to, do what they got to do. If they do hire Shepard, obviously Flores is at the top of my list, but I think he's probably going to get a head coaching job somewhere. But yeah, I think we'll get Shepard back. Now, that being said, next year, I could definitely see him being hired as a head coach somewhere. If we come in, we do really good, his defense kind of turns it around. I definitely could see Shepard next year or the year after going somewhere as a head coach.
I could too, especially, I really thought, to be fair to him, when he had the vast majority of his defense, I thought he did a pretty good job. Doesn't mean he was perfect. Didn't mean he caught off guard with stuff. Overall, I thought he did a pretty good job. When it comes to, is he ready to be a head coach? Man, the only way you are ready is to go out there and do it, learn on the job. At least that's my opinion. Shep, I think if he's here, they add some pieces to this defense. How good could the defense be if Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph comes back, and maybe a strong draft class?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the head. Not many teams are going to be good without both their all-pro safeties. So you bring those guys back. Who knows? Brad might shock us all and make a trade in the offseason that we've been begging for the last 4 years. He might go out and get Hutch some help. He might kill the draft. He might sign us some old linemen. I think Shep has all the needs that he can be, and you saw it. There was games where, the Ravens game, he looked really good. The Eagles game, he coached really well. There was games that he looked good, and then there was just games like, what are we doing, So I think Shep can be a good DC, and I think that's what's going to eventually get him a head coaching job, is because if he can turn it around, it's going to show that adversity, like, hey, he can still do this thing with all this.
All right, Utz Jr., let's not make this a 2-hour episode. Let's go ahead and get you out of here, get you ready for your events this evening. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out, tell everybody where they can find you and your great content.
Yeah, as always, you guys can find me on here. Dan, thanks for having me. You guys can find me on Twitter at SuperfanHutch, and then go follow the page on Facebook at the Lions Den.
Hutch Jr., one last question before we get out of here. What was bigger to Lions fans, ending the regular season with the win over the Chicago Bears or watching the Chicago Bears blow a playoff game?
You know, I think, honestly, I think the hate watch was pretty good last night. But to know that their devil black magic is officially over, and I don't have to watch Caleb Williams drop back 50 yards and throw just a Doritos Locos taco in midair and have someone in the end zone, I'm pretty happy about that. I'm on record to say I don't think they're going to have. I think they're going to be the Detroit Lions of next year. I think they're going to be an 8 or 9 team or a 7 and 10 team. That schedule's hard. They got to make some decisions, and I think if they trade DJ Moore, I think they're going to take a step back. I mean, that's a big piece for them to lose. They got to restructure some contracts. They got some cap stuff they got to go through. So, but to know that Dan Campbell ended the season 2-0 against the Bears and they lose, and they're both, now Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell can talk about whatever they want in Cancun together. So
you're right about that. All right, Hutch Jr., let's get you out of here and on to your rest of your day. Everybody out there, if you would be so kind before departing, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm. And if you can't stay out of the snow, we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.